Hello everyone, welcome to Super Coaching UPSC by Testbook. This is Venkatesh, your faculty for geography. Students, I think if you are observing the events happening in our country since the last 3-4 years, you would have seen that there is tremendous focus on, increasing the plantations, increasing the forest cover, the tree cover in general across the country, primarily to meant for resolving the issues of climate change, the increasing pollution levels in our cities, and the degrading tree cover in general in our landscapes. One such technique which has been very prominent in the recent era, which is able to restore the forest cover, which is able to restore the tree cover, is the Miyawaki forests. And these Miyawaki forests has been very much in news in the last few years. How we are able to regenerate the forest here, what is the benefits arising out of that, and definitely it's not like everything is humpy dory, what you call it as something like everything is very good, successful, and all the things just for the sake of it. There are also some challenges to it. We need to understand every aspect of this event. And yes, last prelims, there was a question asked about this Miyawaki forest in the prelims exam. What is it meant for? To increase the forest cover? As simple. This indicates that there is a possibility of asking the question in the mains as well. The utility of this thing, the pros and cons of this. So let's understand about this thing. Yes, Paras Pranjal, hello, how are you doing? How are you doing? Okay. So let's see what is this Miyawaki forest concept is about. First, as the name suggests, Akira Miyawaki, he is a Japanese botanist. He has been known for renovating forests since 1970s, not just in Japan, but also in Southeast Asia, even in India as well, right? So when you can see here, Akira Miyawaki, he is from Japan. Just a minute. Yeah. What happened to this? Just a minute. Okay, let me explain. Now, Miyawaki forest, right? Okay, Paras Pranjal, you didn't get the PPT of the last session Gulf portion? Okay, today we'll provide that in the Telegram channel. Don't worry, you'll be getting that today. Okay, after the session, I'll be providing you this and that. So as you can see here, Miyawaki forests, it is a unique approach to afforestation and ecological restoration. Unique approach to afforestation and ecological restoration developed by Japanese botanist. The methodology was developed in the 1970s with the basic objective for what? Now, why do you think that it was started? It was started with the idea of densifying, increasing the green cover within a small parcel of the land. In a small parcel of the land, that is within a very narrow area, you wanted to increase the green cover, especially suitable to an urban landscape. Look at our cities, Hyderabad, Delhi, Chennai, Mumbai, big cities, very lesser space, wanting to have tree cover because of variety of benefits arising out of that. That's why this Miyawaki forest was very much in use. Even Prime Minister in Mann Ki Baat has spoken about this n number of times, right? So how do you do that? That's an idea. Then how do you do that? It involves creating a dense multi-layered forest that grow rapidly and mimic the natural biodiversity of native forests. The very key thing here is native forests. You will be taking 2 to 4 different types of indigenous trees within every square meter, plant them and grow it. The very important thing here is nativeness. It is not like monoculture. It is not like you are trapping one species and doing it continuously for in every region. No, it is preferably that particular native region. It cannot promote monoculture. That means there is one plant which grows very, very quickly. So let us plant this tree all across India. No, that is not the idea. In Bengaluru, if you are planting, what is the climate of Bengaluru? What kind of vegetation is suitable to the Bengaluru? Plant that. If you are in Hyderabad, plant that. Hyderabad's climate is very different from Mumbai. Mumbai, nearer to the Western Ghats region on the west coast, more rainfall, the kind of landscape and the type of tree cover is very different from Hyderabad. Hyderabad is from tropical region, tropical dry region, whereas you see Mumbai tropical but wet region because of more rainfall. Then you take Jaipur, much more lesser rainfall. Jaipur, right? Then you take Delhi, a dry region. So every region, depending on its climate, depending on its local nativity, you have to choose a plant. This is one of the biggest important thing within this entire topic. Now, how do you do that? How do you do that? You can see there, have them adapted to natural environmental conditions in the existing forest for 1 week to 1 month. The first thing we need to do is, if you wanted to develop a Miyawaki forest in our region, the first step, identify the native saplings of your region. You are from Kerala, identify the native saplings of that region. You are from, say, Shimla, identify the native saplings there. That should be the first object. Then, once you do that, have them adapted to natural environmental conditions in the existing forest for 1 week to 1 month. Now, that means you will be taking some saplings and trying to collect with respect to the local region of that forest area. Then, you take these plant seedlings from the region into the place where you wanted to actually develop the kind of forest cover, plant seedlings into that particular plant site. Maintenance is necessary for 1 to 3 years in the initial eras. Then when you are choosing, the idea is increasing the density, having multiple canopies. So you choose your saplings in such a way that they are of different heights. For example, one is the shrub layer, as you can see here, one is the subtree layer, one is the tree layer, one is the canopy layer. Now you choose different layers of forest, the saplings, which can grow to that height. Then don't plant all these things at one place. You divide them so that there is a proper shade and there is a proper density, looking like a forest all over the region. That should be the objective. It is not like you are planting similar canopy vegetation saplings at one place. There is a big canopy here and this is everything is not so. No, you have to divide, distribute. So what is the first object? Identify native things. Once you identify the native things, then move to the multiple shrubs. Then take it into a into a particular, what you can say, natural environmental conditions. Once you plant the seeds, take the help of that soil using the nature. There are two methods here. One, what you can do, you can plant the saplings at one particular place, and from there you can put it back into the Miyawaki, into the particular area, or you can actually develop the soil, take that soil and prepare the soil at the particular site, and then you plant the saplings. Whatever, soil making is also another important step. So either you develop the soil in such a way in a particular environmental condition of that saplings, or you prepare the soil which is suitable towards your particular sapling which you would be growing in that site. Whatever, there is natural things which you need to take care into considerations, the natural ecological principles which you need to take care into consideration while developing a Miyawaki plantation. Once you do that, you collect the seedlings. Once they grow it, take it to germinate at one place and put it at a particular site by differentiating. Once you do this, that is when you will see that, for example, you can see here, this is a picture in Mumbai, where in one of the urban landscape there, they have tried to regenerate a forest cover using a Miyawaki. Now you can see here the kind of plantations, very native, You can see the canopy, there is decent amount of density. There is some kind of, good amount of, density is there, tree cover is there. This is the objective of developing Miyawaki forest. If you have this kind of things, what is the benefits you would be having? The benefits you would be having is, in an urban landscape where we are thriving for actually having tree cover, you will be having that. Regeneration of forests in a barren and urban landscape. That will turn our cities into cool concrete cities. We all know our cities are the jungles of concrete, right? It is not the actual forest jungle, concrete jungles. They're not the tree jungle. We are having concrete cities. These concrete cities, you can reduce the temperature. I think you all would agree right now that we are in decent, the summer is showing its true colors. Imagine having a forest or a tree cover very near to our home, having a decent amount of tree cover which is reducing the temperature. Will you appreciate it or not? Yes, Paras? Paras Pranjal, will you appreciate that? है आपके घर के पास? Do you have a such kind of thing nearer to your home? Right? So once you have it, that is very, very important. Then the second thing you have is high biodiversity. The moment you have a decent amount of tree cover, you take the soil which is naturally developed. What will happen? The natural biodiversity principles will take into consideration. What is the natural biodiversity principles? Once you have different kinds of canopies as well, you will be finding that pollination will become increasing. That will be attracting the tree birds over there. That will be attracting the butterflies. The butterflies, the pollination, the birds, all will try to make it that the genetic diversity of that region will slowly increase. Once genetic diversity increases, what will happen? Once the genetic diversity increases, the vulnerability of the region to die, the vulnerability of the region would be decreasing, so that they are able to adapt in case of any kind of diseases like corona. Remember corona? One species able to wipe out a certain thing. Once you have diversity there, it will try to reduce that. So what is that? Once you have a good amount of forest cover, it will increase the biodiversity through pollination, through attracting the birds, the insects, the butterflies. Why do you think that UPSC keeps on asking questions on insects, pollination, butterflies? It is because of the linkages of biodiversity. Once you do that, generally, they will be helping in collecting more carbon from the region around it. More carbon is collected. That will lead to increasing capture of the carbon dioxide, which is actually fueling our global warming. This is another thing. Overall, if you identify a proper soil and try to develop, soil quality will increase. And once you have a decent amount of tree cover and all, definitely they act as a buffer zone so that noise pollution would be reducing, the air pollution would be in our region would be reducing. Imagine you being part of the areas of vegetation. The noise and the quality of the air, it will be acting as a buffer. You all have gone to traditional central public sector unit areas. There is a factory, right? Imagine that landscape. How does it look? There is a factory, there is a buffer area, and then there would be colonies. What does it indicate? It indicates that the vegetation will act as a buffer zone in case of a disaster. Says even for a natural thing, they will be acting as a buffer zone for air pollution and also for decreasing the noise levels. This is important. And all these things will try to have a complete benefit to our urban areas. That is the idea. This technique is very much participated because the key principles which are followed here is the dense planting, different layers of planting, canopy planting. Before you develop the forest, there is a soil which you will be preparing. There is some regular maintenance, mulching which you do. You take into considerations of local people participation. You are collecting the local species only, native, not monoculture, right? These are very, very important points. And with this outcome, it is growing 10 times faster, 20 times more biodiversity, and 30 times denser. That is the idea of Miyawaki forest. In fact, in Hyderabad, there is a 10-acre area where they have identified and tried to grow a Miyawaki forest there. Similarly, so as at different places, right? For example, in Chennai, they are talking about planting around multiple regions within Chennai within the technique of Miyawaki. So many of the municipal corporations, many of the IS officers which you are fondly following in the last few years, check their Twitter accounts, check their social media accounts. They are showing you these kind of pictures. This tells about how things are happening on the ground level as well, right? So once you do this, it is not like they don't have challenges. You are also having some concerns if you are not identifying the proper Miyawaki technique, proper kinds of a sapling. So one thing is, if you are sticking the wrong tree, right? If you are sticking the wrong soils, wrong tree in the wrong soils, or in the soils that have never supported forest before, it is harmful. What is happening is, one of the challenge in our country is, once a certain thing becomes bigger in size, there are so many kinds of shortcuts, outcomes they would be following, but not the process. One of the problem you face is, because now Miyawaki forests are regenerating forests and all, now you are worried more about the outcomes. What is the outcome? Dense vegetation, thick tree cover, beautiful look. This is the outcome. The process, identifying the right sapling, identifying the native one, identifying the native one with developing the proper soil in such a way that the local ecosystem regeneration, the linkages with respect to butterflies, with respect to the birds, with respect to the insects, the basics of ecology, you have to maintain that. Unfortunately, under the outcome of having a dense vegetation, sometimes some of them are not following the right process. If you do that, that will lead to much more reducing the biodiversity. It will lead to, in fact, neutralizing the existing biodiversity, and it will reduce it further. It will drive species to extinction and hampers the supporting capability. Just now I told you the vulnerability, the genetic diversity. You all know biodiversity is of 3 varieties, right? Genetic biodiversity, ecosystem diversity, species diversity. If you don't have such kind of linkages between butterflies, the pollination, the bees, the birds, and all these kind of things, because of reduction in pollination, diversity of the species would be lost. Then there is no resilience. So that is the thing. You need to identify proper native things. If you go for one particular thing all across the country, Delhi, Mumbai, Hyderabad, Bengaluru, Chennai, Jaipur, all are different climate, different regions. If you go by one similar plant, then you will not find the result. In fact, it will lead to negative result. That's what we are trying to mention here. Once you do this, overall what you need to do is, see, there were some studies conducted in Netherlands. In Netherlands, what they have conducted studies about the Miyawaki forest was, in certain areas in Miyawaki forest, the non-Miyawaki forests, the non-Miyawaki techniques are more suitable to that region in a certain area, which are able to have more forest cover, which are able to have more carbon sequestration rather than the Miyawaki regions within Netherlands. Studies were conducted. So what you need to do is, just because one idea was successful at certain place, it might not be at every place. You have to regularly assess. So there is a need for assessment. What you need to do? Compare the biodiversity, compare the amount of carbon sequestration happening, ecosystem impacts of Miyawaki forest with corresponding plots restored through other methods in India. That would be helpful to answer the questions like, how do forests support the native biodiversity? What impact do they have on the groundwater? How does carbon sequestration benefits do they provide? To what extent are they providing? You will have a proper analysis. What we are trying to tell you is, just because on paper you have said that these are the possible benefits of Miyawaki forest, assess the things at a certain area. For example, if I am doing at a level within Telangana, imagine so. Now maybe I have identified a certain region in Telangana. I have developed the Miyawaki forest there. Then I will assess the benefits out of that. Then I will try to assess and compare these benefits with another region which is also adopted another method of forest conservation or increasing the tree cover. Check the benefits out of that. Compare and contrast. arrive at a conclusion. Based on that, try to deploy the learnings out of these two things across different cities within Telangana. Similarly, the moment I go to Chennai, the Chennai's climate is different from Telangana, slight variations. Similarly, if I go to Kerala, very different. Arunachal Pradesh, very different. Delhi, very different. Andaman, very different. Different areas, different nativity, different kinds of linkages with respect to the ecosystems you take into considerations, and then you would be doing this. This is very, very important. The need for assessment. That is when we will be having true public policy making in our country. That is about this topic of Miyawaki forests. Hope you all have understood this, right? If you want the PDF file, you can get into the Telegram channel. I'll provide this PDF file in the Telegram channel. And if you like this video, do like this video, share it to your friends. Sharing is caring. And at the same time, don't hesitate to subscribe to this channel for further kinds of updates. So I hope you had a wonderful understanding about the Miyawaki forest. Until we meet next time, thank you all of you. Happy learnings. Have a good time.